and this is episode 3 of Views from Chinatown. Welcome, and I'm your host, Gabriel Yee. If you've tuned into our first 2 episodes already, amazing. If not, this podcast series, it tells the stories of new perspectives from Calgary's Chinatown. Today we're sitting in with an amazing couple who recently opened Calgary Chinatown's newest, and I want to say hypest, new cocktail bars. Nee and Tanner have an incredible story of how their bar came together during the pandemic and now the role that they play as business owners in Chinatown. I've always found this story interesting, especially after hearing about it from our producer, Vicky Van Chow, who also happened to direct a short doc about Paper Lantern. I think the story hits all the marks of what the next generation of Chinatown could be like. If you haven't been to Paper Lantern yet or know what it is, it's a cocktail bar that doesn't look like a cocktail bar. You've probably walked by it 100 times and not know it's even there. And that's on purpose. And Nee and Tanner will kind of get into it more with Alice in our second episode of Views from Chinatown. Let's get going.
Hi, I'm Alice, the host of Views from Chinatown, a podcast about stories about the past, present, and future in our community. Today, I'm here with Tanner Ennis and Nee Tran, owners of the Paper Lantern, Chinatown's newest cocktail bar and eatery. How are you guys doing?
Good. Yeah,
Good.
Thank you for having us.
Good.
How are you doing?
You started a bar in the middle of the pandemic. How has that been?
Fun, an adventure, constant adaptation to the new environment. But overall, like, good, very good.
Good.
Yeah.
How did you even end up choosing Chinatown as the location for your restaurant and bar?
I think from the conversations from the beginning, it had always been like the spot that we wanted to be. We just had to figure out where and how we were going to fit in here. But actually, Tanner has the story about how we found it. He's the one that found the location. So
Well, I take credit for it. But it was sort of just by chance, without talking about it. Nee and I and the other owners all had in mind having a bar in Chinatown for almost personal use, because we're in Chinatown, having family dinner in Chinatown, we're near Chinatown, and we had many times said, like, oh, I wish there was somewhere to go for a drink before dinner or whatever. So we were going for dinner one day upstairs in Hoan, and we're underneath the restaurant, and I just said, like, that would be an awesome spot for a cocktail bar. It was like a vacant basement looking kind of not the most beautiful location. And then Anne, Nee's sister, said, oh, I know the landlords of that location, and then the rest is history.
basically, it was just the kids talked to the parents, and the parents were like, why does anybody want to rent this? Okay, we'll show it to them. Sure. And then it was like really funny because it was all storage at this point. Someone was renting it out to store things, but there was like a random box of potatoes, a random box of onions, and then a freezer, like a wall full of freezers with nothing in it.
It used to be a grocery store. So there was like those like open door freezers like all on that wall.
Do you know like how old this building is?
No. We did see a document. About the building itself, and we know it's called Hawaiian Plaza.
Yeah, which is pretty fun.
Plaza.
Yeah, and that restaurant used to be called Hawaiian Restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay, it's kind of cool because we're kind of in this like Vietnamese-inspired tiki bar.
Yeah.
Like, was that a pure I guess it's meant to be.
It was a pure coincidence.
Yeah.
We didn't know.
For people who don't know, I guess this building is really interesting because you're located on 2nd Avenue, like right near Golden Inn, one of the oldest Chinese restaurants in Chinatown, one of the like remaining ones from back in the day. And then at the top level, you have Hoan, this Chinese restaurant where you would have like the big round tables and having dim sum every weekend. And then right beside it, I don't know if you guys have ever seen like the little red door with like the curtain.
Oh,
so
Yeah, we've seen it.
So for people listening, it's like, Chinatown is made up of all these secret fraternities, secret societies. Yeah. They were mutual aid organizations back in the day. So it started out as a place where you could get your mail. If you were coming here like working and you didn't have family here, they would help you find basically clothing, shelter, food, jobs, whatever it was. And over the years, it's transformed into more of like a leisure club, I would say. So you have like every time you go in there, they're playing mahjong. There's like a little workout fitness area. There's like TVs for karaoke.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember like China, because I know you grew up in the neighborhood, but like I remember growing up in the neighborhood being like, Chinatown's cool. It's like a free-for-all zone. Like
So fun.
you could do whatever you wanted, like cars parked on the sidewalks, like blinkers on, I'm here for dim sum. Like good luck towing the car away. Like it was.
Yeah, it's still pretty bustling actually. Like when COVID's not so crazy, it's really fun to see like it happen again. You know, like families are still walking around and stuff. But I do miss a lot of like the little trinket businesses.
Yeah.
So I'm absolutely obsessed with going to look at the lion dances. But they had the little ones.
versions,
I was just obsessed with staring at them. I was like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it, but I just love it so much. And like all the little figurines and stuff. But most of those stores are gone now. But it's still bustling. Like when we were doing construction and stuff. Like Tanner just sat on the side and he's like, this is so crazy what's going on down here.
I think that's so awesome to hear, because a lot of the times people have this like misconception about Chinatown being like a dead zone, or that it's like in dire need of revitalization, but there's actually so much life within the buildings. And I know we've talked about this before, because Nee and I know each other from volunteer work, but like both our families lived in Chinatown when they first came to Canada, which was kind of cool. And like they were able to find their community and find people who could help them, like, you know, kind of the same mutual aid society aspect, like, but even as late as the 80s and the 90s. Like, how did your parents end up in Calgary Chinatown?
They were on a wait list. This could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is how it worked. But they were in Malaysia at a refugee camp, and they were pregnant with Anne, my older sister, and they were waiting for notice of Australia or Canada accepting them. But my mom had an older sister that was already here, so she applied to bring them over, and it got accepted, so that's why they ended up here. So we actually could have been Australian, but we ended up here.
And then they just were put in Chinatown, kind of like that's
they were. Yeah, it was where they put everybody. I think it was the similar groceries thing, because that was something my mom said was extremely hard coming here at first, because she's pregnant, so she has all these crazy cravings. And they're very expensive if they're coming. They're like expensive groceries now, let alone then. And so like I think it was to keep the food similar as what they thought it could be. So I think that's why they were all placed here for the centralization, because I don't think they had a lot of little Asian suburbs then, because I fully remember them opening that Vietnamese, like the Noodle World, and like I remember being at that opening party. My uncle was in the
little
band.
Saigon
area.
Saigon Plaza or something.
Yeah, and my uncle was in the Saigonese band that played with the Vietnamese like music stars behind it. So it was like I remember that opening. So like that must not have been that long ago, right? So
I think in the 90s for sure, because it was definitely like a point of pride for like that International Avenue place, which has now been super revitalized and has like so many new businesses going there, and it's super diverse. My parents came at the same time. Like my dad says the same thing. Like he was also trying to go to the States because he had a girlfriend, you know, he had this girl that he had known in Vietnam, but he's been, I don't know if it's the same for your parents, but like my dad was basically in and out of refugee camps like for like 5 years during his teenage years, right? Like as soon as he was like 14, 15 years old, it was like, okay, getting a boat ticket, trying to get out of here. And then it was like captured in prison, you know, and then back again, you know, you kind of like have your stint back home in Saigon, and then you go again. And it was like so many people have this like similar story where their parents were fleeing kind of this communist regime. And I remember like being a kid hearing the words like refugee camp and like Vietnamese Cultural Revolution and stuff like that, and not really knowing like the context of what it was. It was just like things that my parents went through, and I knew that it was like bad. Did your parents share stories about like what Vietnam was like during that time, like what caused them to want to like leave and end up at a refugee camp?
Honestly, no. Like they're pretty tight-lipped about most of it, but my mom only married my dad with the promise that they were not going to stay. I think very shortly after they got married, they packed up, and my dad brought my uncle with him because they're like best friends. He's still like, he lives down the street from me. Like they're like we're one huge family basically, and and they just were like, we got to get out of here.
It's pretty crazy. Like, I remember hearing stories of my grandpa. Like, they ran like a pretty successful business in Saigon, basically making syrups like for sodas and stuff like that, and essences. And when the communists took over, like they grew up in the Chinatown of Saigon.
Yeah.
Right? Like my parents didn't learn Vietnamese until they were forced to, essentially, once like the communists took over, because they were just like existing in this community. And for folks who don't, like, you know, Chinese diaspora has been happening for a long time, right? Like they were fleeing kind of crappy conditions in mainland China, like from Guangdong area, and then they traveled to Vietnam because at the time it was still a relatively like free market society where you could start a business. It was ripe for entrepreneurship. There was lots of opportunities. So like my grandpa as a teenager went over to Saigon to the Chinatown and like started a business at a really young age. And they were kind of in this enclave, like they never had to like leave and learn Vietnamese. Like that always was crazy to me, but it makes sense. Like if you look at Chinatown now, like you have seniors and businesses, like you really don't need to know English to kind of utilize any of the businesses or services here, right? Like everybody speaks multiple dialects. Everyone's always like super willing to help, especially if you're like a newcomer. And so I think it was super interesting that when my parents came over to Canada, it was also like a Chinatown that they gravitated towards, because it had the familiar like foods and language and yeah.
There's a lot of history in Calgary's Chinatown. In every corner of every street, every back alley, every back room, there are stories that continue to educate and inspire us today, I think. And one aspect of Nee and Tanner's story that really stuck out to me was that they opened the bar on the same street that Nee's family grew up in when they first moved to Canada. And to me, that's quintessential storytelling, because it's full circle. You know, you kind of see the progress of the immigrant story and all the bits and pieces that make up the story of a family that comes to Canada, builds a business, and builds succession in their family. And to me, the story of Paper Lantern really, really tells that, and it's super fascinating to me. So let's keep going.
It's really cool that like mom and dad lived on the street, and like now we get to open a business, and they're so proud of and like happy being here too.
And your parents are like pretty involved in this restaurant and bar.
Well, they're
couldn't be more.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. They're like, they of course they don't understand like the whole coolness, like the cocktail bar, like the fun, that part, because they're like, why isn't there a sign? No one's gonna come.
Yeah.
Like we have to advertise more. Like, aren't you guys worried and stuff? We're like, don't worry, just it's okay. Make the food that you want to make and stuff. And she's like, what does this mean? And like we like they have little chairs back there so they don't have to stand long to like prep and stuff. It's very cute. We're happy to have them involved, and my aunt too.
Well, and you guys grew up in the restaurant industry, essentially, like working.
Yeah, my dad was a taxi driver and was still before COVID. And then my mom, growing up, we were stay at home, basically. But like when I basically started going to university, then they had bought the restaurant, and we all inherited a new business to learn and figure out how to run too, how to help run as well, because parents get to learn legal things from us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like filing tax forms and paying payroll and having everything ready and stuff, which we didn't know at that point either. So yeah, it was a pretty big undertaking. But then when it closed, it gave us the opportunity to open this, because then we could take over all the business aspects of it, and then my mom and my aunt could focus on what they wanted to do, which was just cook. They just want to feed people. That's all they want to do. They want to make people happy. So
did they have any say in terms of like the location? Like when they came to look at it, were they like a basement?
No, we showed them when it was pretty done, right?
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't even see it before renovations.
No, I don't think so.
No. We were going to have backup plans if they didn't want to do it and stuff, but we wanted it to be our own vision before, like, you have Asian parents, you understand, but like maybe a wall needs to be a certain color all of a sudden that they didn't tell you about, or like a trinket needs to be somewhere, but we really wanted it to be our space before we decided to focus on that part, especially with COVID happening. This came together pretty much like at the end. Most of it was COVID times that like painting and stuff was happening. So it was already kind of like so much stress for us for other things that we were like, we will worry about that after.
And you guys were kind of like the new kids on the block, well, new kids in the community at least, doing like, there's been a slew of like bubble tea shops and dessert shops opening in the neighborhood, but like nobody really had the balls to do something like a bar. And there hasn't really been one for a long time, because back in the 90s and the early 2000s, like a lot of the bars kind of had a pretty bad reputation as like being a zone where like fights would happen or like nefarious activities. And after the flood, like a lot of the basements in Chinatown were just like left untouched and unrenovated, like moldy and things like that, because just the cost of reclamating like the space was just too high. And so I think like you said earlier, where the landlord's like, why would you want to take this basement and like put in the work to like zone it and like renovate and everything, I think is pretty remarkable. Like, did you have people coming by and asking what you guys were doing, or?
All the time. And I don't speak Chinese, so like there's no, like I pulled up Google Translate and would show them pictures of like cocktail bars and like tropical bars in like other cities, and then they're like, but noodles, like they would say like words, and I was like, like Vietnamese food, and then I'd like look it up, and like, but everybody who was asking was like super interested, and it was elderly, like the elderly folks, and a lot of the association upstairs, our neighbors even, and like they kind of like, everybody knows us, and they know we're here all the time, but I'm not sure a lot of them know why, which is kind of fun. But hopefully we were hoping like to bring more of the community in once the world is okay.
Totally. Yeah. Were there other people like outside of Chinatown's community that who are now seeing you guys doing it, like young generation starting something cool in Chinatown? Like, have they approached you being like, man, I have this idea, I want to start this too, or like, I want to do this, how should we go about navigating it?
Yeah, I think like now, I don't know how to say it. It's kind of like a proven concept where we can attract people to Chinatown that wouldn't necessarily come, because one of the things is we knew that we're not like high foot traffic for maybe some of the clientele we want to attract, but we've sort of proven that people will make it a destination to come to Chinatown to visit the bar, and then hopefully other things around it. So yeah, I think that some people that might not have thought of Chinatown are thinking of it now as a potential location, and it's like an amazing location. It's like close to Bridgeland, close to Crescent Heights, close to Eau Claire, close to East Village and Inglewood, the river. Yeah. It's like perfect location. So I think people are thinking of it a little bit more.
Yeah, I would say we've met a lot of like small like entrepreneurs that like are in the food and beverage space that are like, do you know of any spots? Like, like I text a lot of people now that are just asking if there's anything that comes up, just like let me know, because like now they know it can work, and like we don't speak the same language as the landlords, but they've been super wonderful to us. Yeah. And it doesn't take much. Like Tanner talks to them more than I do. Yeah. All the time. Like, yeah. And they like know that he'll like help. Like there was a little flood because of somebody tied into a very Chinatown thing that someone tied into a storm drain they shouldn't have. But like Tanner was like, oh, don't worry, I'll call the city and stuff. And like the landlord was so thankful that he was going to take care of it, because she's just like, I don't know what to do.
Tanner's the son-in-law of the building, like how it's like
I'm out there pushing the garbage in and out.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, Tanner will do it. It's just I guess in Chinatown, like what we've noticed from doing like our tours even is that the older generation, like they're super welcoming of us because they want us to be involved and they want Chinatown to survive, and they like seeing life and activity in the streets. I think that they were just like a little bit scarred from maybe like previous attempts at, turning Chinatown into like a nightclub zone. Last summer when I came in here one time, like one thing that Nee said to me was like, man, I wish we could help all these mom and pop owned like Asian businesses start like an online delivery service, or start like, at least have a website or a link to their menu, because like they just don't exist, and like people aren't going into the spaces right now. So like how can people order from you if they don't know what you have to offer? And it's something so simple like creating a Google listing, for your business, but many people just don't have the skill sets to do that. And coming out of this, a lot of businesses won't survive. But it seems like Paper Lantern at least is, pretty cautiously optimistic, and you have been super responsible, and you have built up this fan base. Like last summer when the lockdowns had ended, for this, I feel like you had a really good summer and fall.
Yeah.
Like,
well, we don't know
you have
anything
a
else.
cult following,
Yeah. Yeah, we're super thankful and lucky. Our friends and our family has spread word, and a lot of it was just word of mouth, which was the way to go this year. Just with the way things were, we couldn't have that many people here, and we really wanted like people who wanted to have responsible fun, which I feel like we got those people. But you're right, like cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to operate at our normal levels that we want to at some point soon.
Do you ever think about like why you are so successful in terms, because there's a lot of people who try to do this like Asian-y fusion cocktail concept in Calgary, and like a lot of them have shut down. Like, what do you think is your key to success?
I think that we don't think of ourselves as doing an Asian-y concept bar in Chinatown. We just sort of like authentically thought, where would we go? What do we want? What do we like? And every day we just do what we would want to do. And mom cooks what she wants to cook, and it resonates with people. Like, we're out here too. Like, Nee's out there. You come, she's there. I'm here. It's not like we have no intention of not being part of the business. We just want like, I base the business on having fun personally. Like,
if it's not fun, like, what did we do this for? Because we changed our whole lives to bring this to life. So,
like, what industries were you guys working in before this?
I'm still working, but oil and gas before, and then now like personal tax services, a lot of consulting work, and then real estate. And then
I worked at oil and gas too. That's where Nee and I met.
And how long was this kind of idea bubbling for? Like, how many years? Because some people are just like, wow, overnight success, awesome. And it's I'm sure there was a lot of behind the scenes thought and care that went into this.
Well, like even before we had met, like me, Anne, and Jimmy, my sister and my brother-in-law, had always went traveling together. And every time we go to like a new city, and we're like, why can't Calgary have this? Why can't we just have fun too there? Why is it always, like a bit harder and stuff? So when it was like, when we got together and then the Orchid Room shut down, that was when the conversations were starting to actually become serious, because we're like, if we're gonna do this, if it's not now, why not now? Because I quit my job because I didn't like it. Like it just, everything kind of lined up at that point, and then the space felt like, like it was just, everything was perfect, because we went to just see what the space would look like and stuff, and it was like, we can do this now if we want to. So
I mean, that being said, the space was like a disaster.
It was a disaster.
Nobody would ever, like, I would not recommend it to anybody. It's like let's make a bar restaurant in a gymnasium, basically.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we did.
So it's like no walls,
no water lines.
No water lines.
Like,
we're trenching.
No walls.
Like you got to trench the floor. Like what even is that? What kind of technology is that?
So there weren't like bathrooms or anything in here?
There was two.
There was two bathrooms, but they were tied into a sewer line that we had deemed not appropriate.
Oh, yes.
Like we scoped the line and decided it would be more harm than good to use it. So we took everything off that line and we moved it to the other line that we have. So yeah, we had all the tile was busted up in the back and there was dirt everywhere. It's like, that's why we didn't bring Mom down. Like it was
Yeah,
like,
we
scary.
brought my parents down because they're in Invermere, right? So they are not coming here all the time. So they just like, they're like, could we see the space? We're like, okay, but you have to be ready. It is scary.
Use
and they
your
came
imagination,
down there, like,
like-
basically we're like, oh Lord.
And that's not even like, that's not parents, that's like everybody, like
Yeah.
family and friends are coming down like, okay, oh, it looks good. Like it was crazy.
So something that I was really impressed with when I found out about Paper Lantern opening was like your immediate commitment to collaborating with the local community. Like you were like, Alice, we have to do a tour. If you know anybody who wants to collaborate and have events here, like I remember being like, Gabe and I want to do like secret movie nights, like show old Hong Kong like triad movies and
Dang, we would love
make
that.
it, yeah, make it so. And you're like, do it here. Like there was no, like I appreciated so much that you guys were so open to any and all types of collaboration. And I'm sure a bit of it was just like, we need people in the door. Like let's try to just come up with fun things to do.
It's actually not that much of that. It's more like what we think we believe in and want to support, because being part of like the corporate community for so long and then walking into this was so refreshing for me. I always tell Tanner like how happy I am to be meeting who we meet here, and like I've like have made lifelong friends from the bar, and I know that after them coming in after a few weeks, because it's just like the community in Calgary is so much stronger than people realize, and it's like we're really cool. We just have no places to like be cool at, or like you know, like not everything needs to be like, we're just like, are they nice to us? Are they respectful? Do we believe in what they're doing? Yes. Okay, we'll make it work. We're not open that many days, so like working around that is pretty easy. Obviously with COVID, that's not, but like we want everybody to feel welcome at the bar. The bar was always meant to be a place of fun. It was always meant to be a place you can come and drink, or you can come and eat. You can do whatever. We don't care. Just be happy and be nice to us. Like that was like the basis of owning the bar, was it was supposed to be a fun place to go.
Did you have a lot of people, like I know you did a collaboration with like Milk Ice Cream, you've done other collabs, like has it been relatively easy to find these people to kind of brainstorm with and bring something new to the Calgary culinary scene?
Yeah, it's been like I would say it's been pretty easy and nice, and if we don't know, we like always ask you, Alice, or like someone else. But like Milk was super like, we thought it was super cool that they like were an ice cream shop out of John's Breakfast and Lunch, because it's like our neighborhood. Yeah, like breakfast place, and then she's a fan of us and came here, and we were like fangirling over them, and we're like, oh my god, both sides are just so excited to meet each other.
It's amazing. Like people will come to, they'll come here and they'll say like, oh my god, the bar is so cool. And I go like, you think this is cool? Like you're an actual rapper. You're actually Milk Ice Cream. I remember thinking that like I got introduced, I was like, whoa.
Our Cartel Madras, they're like like a sister rap group here.
They're so cool.
Or Jay Sterling, the artist, you know. I'm just like, what's going on? Or like Allison from Pink Flamingo, you know, like it's like crazy. Or like Kyla Evans, I think, but she's like a tattoo artist, a local tattoo artist who tattoos like all these nature bugs, and like she's just like, yeah, I'm a tattoo artist. And then she adds us, I was like, oh, you're like a famous Instagram, like this is like a fancy, I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. But like we just meet these people, and there's normal cool people who are like, I like art, that's what I did for a living.
So if you tuned into episode 2, we talked to Suying Strang from the New Gallery, which is an artist-run contemporary art center right in Calgary's Chinatown. Sue told us about how the New Gallery had a responsibility and a duty to be involved in being voices of support for things like Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ+, and especially Indigenous issues. So it's no surprise that Nia and Tanner also felt the same way and have the understanding that they have a responsibility to contribute as well. Chinatown's community is essential in being welcoming and showing support for other marginalized groups or cultures. I mean, for the simple fact that, unfortunately, we happen to be experts of being marginalized. So we've always kind of seen Chinatown as being this place that is safe for other groups to feel recognized and to be supported and to feel like they have a voice.
What was really cool about your like timing was that right when Chinatown was kind of doing their Black Lives Matters mural, which is The Guide and the Protector by artist Jay Sterling, which is just like essentially a block and a half from here. It was really cool to have you guys kind of stand up for it, you know, in the community as the new voice, because a lot of people weren't sure what to think. You know, it's so easy in our society today to like be forced to choose a side right away, you know, and super quick with almost no information, and it's just based off of like emotion or reactionary kind of things. And so like what kind of led you to want to put your neck out for a cause like that?
Well, we actually didn't know Jay and Priya and like that group before the bar opened, but they came in one night, and like we didn't talk or anything, but then they reached out and asked if we could meet, and it turns out they're like just normal people just trying to like he's like I'm a rapper and an artist, and I'm just trying to, and they didn't ask anything of us. They just asked if it was a fun idea to us, and if it was a very respectful way to ask, and like we really liked them. And we don't see a problem with collaboration in Chinatown. We don't know why that would be an issue. The painting's there, it's fun. There was nothing there on that wall, like it was just an empty space. Like nobody cared about art in China, like art in Calgary or anything, until it's controversial.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and the mural is the Calgarian cowboy that brought longhorn steer to the area that's black guy.
You know, the generation that's been here for a while just felt like shocked at the artwork and that it wasn't representative of necessarily Chinese culture. But I think that, for instance, with I Love While We See Chinatown, like we were all super supportive of it, because we were like, if we don't support other people's art, who's going to support us? You know, if we're not lifting up voices that are marginalized. And you know, it was right at the center of like Black Lives Matters. Like we were really focusing on like the most marginalized and exploited and oppressed populations, and how important it was for other groups of color, people of color, to stand up as well and show solidarity and allyship, because it's like Chinatown has gone through so many iterations of like, you know, fights with City Hall or with developers, and like most of the time it's our own fight. It's like so insular, and nobody really pays attention. No one really wants to report on it. Nobody really cares about it. And it's like, it's probably because we're kind of bad at standing up for others, you know? So it's to see groups like businesses like you who are new to the community and right away ready to like kind of stand up for the marginalized. It's so inspiring. And I think it sets a good precedent for like other people to be like, hey, it's okay. You can run a business and have an opinion, especially if it's like for the greater good of society, and to make sure that people are loved and accepted and cared for. And so I thought that was like really cool, because not a lot of businesses do that because they're scared of being canceled, you know, or scared of being on the wrong side. It's better just to be apathetic and neutral. So I think that the more people who, like yourselves, who have like a position of influence in a sense, or you have the ability to kind of provide a platform to the voices, it helps give other people courage to do the same, you know, because yeah, it is scary. You don't want to say the wrong thing, and you especially don't want to say the wrong thing when it's like you don't have enough information. And so now people are like paralyzed. They're like, well, how do I know that I know enough about it to say something? But it's also just like, it's common sense, you know, like, and I think it's the media that kind of sometimes changes it and makes it really scary for people.
If you're listening to this and you've been to Calgary's Chinatown, it's highly likely that you visited and you've had food in mind when you've gone. You aren't alone in this, thankfully. Food and culture are synonymous in Chinatowns around the world. We're a culture that celebrates food in ways that have kind of extended from generation to generation. It's this evolution of generational change that we sort of provide this intersection in Chinatown for food that can be seen as either Western influence or maybe, say, traditional flavors or cuisine. So with this comes a broader conversation that happens on the internet, whether it's through Google reviews or whether it's restaurant reviews or that kind of thing. And these conversations are about whether food is exotic or not, or whether, you know, a culture's food is being appropriated, or whether food is Western influenced or not. So Nee and Tanner obviously have experience in dealing with this. And it really, to me, their story kind of speaks to, again, the next generation of Chinatown and how we are shaping food culture today.
Well, Chinatown has always been like a food-centric community. Obviously, like a lot of people's touch points with the neighborhood is through food. What made you guys want to really make sure that you stuck to like authentic Vietnamese street food as opposed to kind of something that's more regular that you would find at restaurants around the city?
Well, my mom, like, we had like a lunch restaurant before, and it was kind of a dialed down version of anything that we would eat at home. And when we thought of the bar, we thought we want to do what we want. So the flavors of it, isn't technically traditionally like Vietnamese in the sense of anything. It's what my mom feels like cooking. Because some days, honestly, Tanner loves hot dogs and my mom has a bunch of hot dogs back there. So if someone wants a hot dog, they can have it. But like sometimes it's Szechuan dumplings. My mom's on a food journey of her own, you know, and so is my aunt. So if they choose to like make something outside of the box, like that can happen.
Yeah.
It's just that in this environment, they feel safe enough to bring dishes that I won't say it was like a shame, but like afraid other people might not want to try. Like, you know, like fermented fish stews or shrimp paste stews. Like I like will offer it to people and I'll be like, it's pretty crazy, but if you have been anywhere and you want a taste of that, this will take you there. And like people have been like, oh my God, thank you so much for giving us like, you know, a little taste of vacation. Cause like not everybody likes it or whatever. And some of it is pretty out there, but like, it's just, she has a safe space to play, to like make the traditional things if she wants, or like try some new recipes if she doesn't.
Yeah.
Like she made Szechuan dumplings and Tanner's brother says he has like dreams about these dumplings because they were so good.
Yeah.
But like that wasn't us. That was my mom discovered Szechuan peppercorns. So it was like, oh my God, my tongue, I can't feel it. It's so crazy. And that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
It was interesting thinking about like how the bar would be and the food we would have in terms of like people being nervous that their food wouldn't translate the way that they wanted to. Like they would like there would be things that are not common, like Vietnamese foods or whatever, and they're like, should we have it? Should we not? And I don't know if people would like it, you know. And I'm like, they will like it. I like it. I eat it. I like it. But it's like it's so common to them, like to me and our family or mom. It's like we had it every day. We got made fun of for eating it. Yeah. I don't know if we should put it on the menu. And I'm like, but it tastes so good, you know.
And that's something Tanner helped us like deal with our own issues with that, because a lot of the decorations in the bar are things that we're like, oh my God, that's like a hoarder city, you know, like the placards, you know, like these beautiful art pieces that were like, I don't know, they were just like hoarded in our house, and Tanner's like, they need to be in the bar. We're like, what? And even the dishes and like, you know, stuff. And Tanner's like, no, guys, these are like beautiful parts of your culture, but it's just something that you grow up and you didn't realize that it was like such a big...
Every uncle has one, so it can lose specialness. Like to me, this is my impression. But, you know, things, they're like, they're beautiful. They should be on display, and we put it out. People love it. I'm like, that's part of, like, that's sort of like rewarding to me too. Like mom will make something special because she makes like a special dish every day that's like not on the menu. And she'll be like, do people like it? They like it? They eat? They like it? They love it.
I'm like obsessed with it. Like,
but it's like something that my mom also finds pretty foreign too, because she would try to do that at the workroom and only like a very few would ever get to see or experience it, because she didn't feel safe enough until they knew her to offer it, you know, and stuff like that. And I was like, it's really fun for us to be here and see it, you know, and like experience it with them.
I mean, that's part of our having awesome customers, though. They're eating like intestine stew, you know, loving it. So we're grateful that way.
But even things that were like super normal and like everybody's like, oh my God, this is insane. But like tit ka, you know, like the braised pork stew, and you're like, this is like the most normal thing in my life.
That's like a regular family
people are
dish.
Like, why? What? Like, what has my life been? You know, like, you know, without this. And I was like, oh, it's like really changing my thought process with it, that like Calgary is like accepting of this, and like, you know, our customers are amazing and we love them for that, because they let mom do crazy stuff that like, it's not always that. Sometimes it's scarier, you know, like, but like, it's a safe place to try stuff.
Like, I feel like when you enter Paper Lantern, it's just like so friendly. It's like, you guys are the friendliest people ever. Like, Me's like born into being a host. Like, we were talking about how you're such like a host, you know, such a gracious host. And it's something that people really like notice, and it makes them feel warm, and it makes them want to come back and also tell like all their friends about it. 'Cause it's like, we've uncovered this secret in Calgary, and it's like this authenticity and personality that you don't really find at a lot of places, because it is so corporate everywhere else, you know?
Well, that's like a real Vietnamese family. From my experience, only knowing a few, it's like you go to the house and they just say, you can have anything, everything. all you can eat, all you can drink. There's more food than you can than you'd
like,
ever believe.
Oh,
and
you're
it's
you're out of garlic. I have garlic.
Yeah.
Take my garlic home. You don't have to go to the
so
store.
we try to kind of translate that into like
Yeah.
a feeling, and we're learning too. Like
Yeah.
we are learning our own identity kind of as we go.
Yeah.
So like the bar on the first day is not like it is now. You know.
For sure. And I think that it is like the fact that it is your mom and your aunt in the kitchen and sometimes the other owners, you know, it's like such a team effort to like execute this experience for people. You just want people to have the best time. Do you feel like pressure to like live up to other, like the community standards of what you should and shouldn't be? Like, I know that there was like a review on Google where they were like, this isn't what I expected, or this isn't, you know, authentic, or it's too authentic. Like, how do you navigate like who to listen to?
I think it was it's always been a feeling and like what we wanted it to be, because in the end that review was crazy. By the way, it was only, we thought maybe 2 people on Google would laugh at it. That's it.
Can you tell us a little bit about what the review was and kind of what your response was, just for people who may not know?
Oh, sure. So the review was a low star review, and it was
It
sent,
wasn't.
It was
3.
3 star, not that.
3. It was like an average review.
It was an average review. Yeah. So the review was a 3-star review, and the complaint was that we didn't provide the right sauce. I think it was some kind of a Vietnamese sauce, and that our food wasn't inventive enough.
Exotic.
Or
Exotic
inventive enough, and they did say something about exotic. So then we already have sort of a policy of responding to reviews, because Jimmy really likes to do it, and
Oh my God.
it's
Like,
kind of
respond to
like
every review.
It's kind of like gives like a mom and pop feel, I guess. I'm not sure.
Like there's a restaurant here, like on 16th, that's an Indian restaurant that we just love reading his reviews, because he'll be like, no, not right, or like, I'm so sorry. Like, he's like, it's like, you can tell he's just a guy running a business, and like, people need to realize that when they put these reviews and stuff, these are our livelihoods, and like, can't just randomly have a thought.
Yeah, so we have a practice of responding to reviews, saying thanks, or saying like, oh, like sorry, like we'll try harder. You know, there was a problem of some kind, maybe, who knows. But we responded to the reviewer saying that we were confused about his request, and you know, if he doesn't want the type of food that we have, we're like, it's cool to not come here anymore, basically.
But it was like, the review was like, oh my God, I went to a Vietnamese restaurant and got regular Vietnamese food, and it was like, I was his server, and I'm still confused. Like, I was just like, okay, like, we didn't talk. You could just talk to me.
Yeah.
As the owner, I told you that, you know, like.
But then we responded to the review because we wanted to say, like, you know, we do still believe in what we do. It wasn't an accident. We didn't have what your imagination had.
Yeah.
That's not real. And then so the reviewer reposted our rude response onto a roast and toast whatever page, and then the community was like, what is wrong with you, basically, for about like 2 days, 10,000 people.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
we had
Wow.
60,000 website views, but it was crazy, and we did not get involved, but it was really nice to see like the community understand that it's like, what? How can you be mad at a business for being their business? Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was never any like question to anybody. Like, we believe in what we do. We're gonna do it and keep doing it. So it was there was nothing there to think about.
It wasn't drama to us, because we just thought it was like a silly review that 2 people
Okay,
would
but
see.
for the guy who like was so proud of his like negative review that he posted it on Roast and Toast Facebook page, being like, haha, look what I did.
Yeah. And then
then it
having
It backfired badly. Yeah, internet's very powerful. You gotta be careful with
that we
how you use it.
learned the internet is a vengeful place,
Yes.
and that's not somewhere you need to. But basically we met some of his past people here. They came after to give us some support and stuff. So it was pretty interesting what happened after. But it was just really nice to see the community like understand that like you're allowed to be a business that just doesn't bow down to every customer you have, right? Because you cannot make everybody happy.
No.
That's not the world.
Yeah. And now I think that there is a lot of pressure, right, of people and their perceptions of what something should be based on their own bias or an experience they had. And they're like trying to pigeonhole you into being like, you're trying to be like X, Y, Z. And so you must do it exactly. And if you're exactly like it, then we're canceling you because you're copying this other thing. You know, it's like you can't win.
Well, when we were starting the bar, like it wasn't even, nothing had really happened. Someone asked, what other bar in Canada are you looking to for inspiration?
Yeah.
And we were like, none?
Yeah.
And it was like such a strange question, but like the comparison game, sometimes it's just like two people who just decided to make their life experiences part of your life experiences to open you a bar. Like we just, it wasn't meant to be anything other than a fun place. Like we're not.
I mean, 2 years ago, if you were going to go to a party that Nee and I hosted, you would be at Paper Lantern. You would have the same drinks, almost, probably most of the same food.
It's true. My mom would be asked to.
It's not it's not like a concept. It's just our life.
This is how you were passionate about, it wasn't like, you guys have been making drinks for years and like, obviously the Trans are amazing. Like I've had the opportunity to have like your mom's food even before Paper Lantern, and it was always amazing. And the family is, you guys just love being yourselves. I think that's why it's so refreshing. Like moving into the next year as we slowly come out of the pandemic and like the next 5 years, like we were joking a little bit about how like if we all won the lottery or whatever, that you know, your dream would be to buy up like as much of the buildings and turn it into cool places like this as much as possible. Like, what do you guys really think for the future of this neighborhood?
I mean, I hope that the neighborhood attracts new entrepreneurs and new business ideas and concepts in like an authentic way that want to participate in the neighborhood and help like encourage people to come here. I mean, that would be the best for me. Everybody wins. You can drink in parks now. We're very close to the river.
Yeah, that's so true. Oh my gosh, cocktail kits.
Yeah.
Cocktail kits.
But you have to like reserve a picnic table. It's a mess.
Do you?
Oh, is it a mess?
Oh.
It's okay. We all know that people have been,
Yeah.
you know, PBRing in the parks for years, if you know what I mean. But I don't know. We want the community to grow. We want it to like. The problem is that Chinatown is growing old, and we need people to be strong and like be brave enough to open businesses in the places that are shutting down, take over businesses, you know, like have concepts that like you've been thinking about for years in corporate life. I know you're unhappy, you know, but like you can do a side hustle and figure it out, because like our city kind of needs this stuff to keep it revitalized and keep stuff going. Like we want our downtown and stuff to be busy, and Chinatown's a pretty big part of that. And as Tanner always tells me, this real estate is amazing. You know, like this area is so understated for what it actually is.
It's true. And
and a lot of it is available right now, which is really scary to us too, because we love going here. Like how me and Tanner got to know each other is going for lunch here every day. It'd be to hit up all the Chinatown spots. Like Anne loves Chinatown so much, she's been to every single restaurant in Chinatown, you know, other than one, because it was new, and she saw it, she's like, what's that? You know, like it's just the community needs more like new blood to come in and understand it's okay, it's just another neighborhood here.
Exactly.
And Chinatown for sure, but outside Chinatown too. Yeah. Just like, you know, I mean, I can't encourage people enough to do what they want to do.
Yeah, it's like taking that risk and, you know, not doing it alone. I think a lot of the times people are like, ooh, I have an idea for a concept, but I can't do it by myself. It's just too much. So that means I won't do it at all. But I think what's worked in your case is like you have luckily a family that's into running a business together. I rarely hear of stories where like family run businesses are this successful and this collaborative, and
oh my God,
you're not trying to kill each other.
Yeah, like dragging, like calling. my corporate sister come down
Yeah.
and be our cook because
Yeah, exactly.
need her
Like,
for the
sorry,
night.
you're the server tonight.
like
yeah.
our opening night where we're like, oh my god, what are we doing? We're like shaking, we're so nervous. We don't have any plates right now. It's 3 p.m.
Oh yeah, I had a U-Haul.
We had
Oh,
a
yeah.
U-Haul. We had to go
I had all
buy
the plates in the U-Haul.
But it's like really funny because we like are so okay with wasting, you know, like spending our lives working for others and stuff when it doesn't take that much to do your own thing. There's there is a vintage store we went to and it was only open like 2 days a week because the guy obviously has another job. Why would you only be open 2 days a week as a store? That makes no sense. All these clothes sit here. But like, you know, like side hustles are real, and that's like how our generation is having to figure life out.
I think Calgary has such an entrepreneurial spirit. Like, you're absolutely right. Like, when it comes to downtown, even like there's lots of cool things happening in the suburbs as well. And it really is finding your community and, you know, brainstorming that idea and really just taking that risk. And if you can't do it in the full scope of what you want to do, just like do a pilot of it, do a small pop-up, do like a small iteration and just talk to everyone you can, because if you're really passionate about making Calgary this inclusive, creative space that people want to visit when they come, and a place you can show off when your friends like come to town, it's like, it takes work. Somebody's got to take the lead. And so, I wish we could do it all, but it's going to be, you know, it's a lot easier if more folks get on the same page and
and
do it
COVID's
together.
made us all realize that like life's pretty short, and like opportunities aren't like, you know, the stable salary maybe isn't as stable.
Exactly.
Because the company we worked at left Canada during COVID.
Oh, really?
They completely packed up and left. like,
like,
you know,
"See
like
ya."
we're like, what? How do we have more stable jobs than that? But like, you know, like stability isn't as stable as you think it is in that corporate sense. And like, we all just like, I really believe in always learning and like applying that and just making sure that you have the options and stuff. But there's no reason why you can't do something you want to do.
I think you guys are definitely leading the charge and showing people that it can be done. Like, it's such like a rip the Band-Aid off and just jump into it kind of story that, you know, inspires a lot of people, and something that seemed totally impossible, like starting a cocktail bar during the pandemic in a basement that used to look like a gym. It has now become this beautiful space that we're in. So thank you for taking that risk and, you know, deciding to honor Chinatown's history and its legacy by being so respectful of the community that you've decided to enter and start a business in. Like, I think that it really provides a good example for future businesses coming in.
Yeah.
So
We hope so.
Yeah, we hope so.
We want more businesses, more ideas.
We love
More fun.
we love like when a new spot opens up, and like we love crazy ideas.
Yeah. I mean, we'll be there, guaranteed.
Yeah.
For sure. No matter what it is, we'll definitely be there. Yeah.
Well, I'm super excited to see what you do next, or like who you inspire. You know, like, you're the best ambassadors that this community could ask for in terms of like, being just like doers. You know?
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's it. Thanks for tuning into Views from Chinatown. We loved telling these stories and learning about culture and change in Calgary's Chinatown. We really hope you did as well. So we want to thank first and foremost TELUS STORYHIVE for providing us the opportunity to produce this series. Our friend and mentor Lisa Pruden for inspiring us and really giving us insight into our first podcast production. And everyone from the National Screen Institute as well, thank you for your leadership. Most important, we want to thank our producer, Vicky Van Chow. Without her, none of this would have been possible. She's put in countless hours behind the scenes so that we can enjoy this production process as seamlessly as possible. Our fabulous host, Alice Lamb, who continues to inspire us with her community heart and her heavy addiction to volunteering. Keep it up, Alice. We are rooting for you. And who can forget all of our amazing guests, Raymond, Sue, Nee, and Tanner. Thank you for sharing your stories with us, your spaces with us, and really telling us, you know, your view from where you stand in Chinatown. So that's pretty much it. We're talking about a potential second season, so definitely stay tuned for that. So thank you, take care, and stay safe. I'm Gabriel Yi, your host, and you've been listening to Views from Chinatown. We have a bunch of people who have made this podcast possible, and I just want to take a quick second to thank them now. Producer Vicky Van Chow and our host Alice Lamb, Our guests, Tran and Tanner Ennis from Paper Lantern. Our camera operator, Jeremy Pollock. Location sound, Brenda Sevilla. Our equipment has been provided by Dreadnought Digital, DCPI Film Services, and Phil Bowen. Our production manager, Vicky Van Chow. Post-production sound, Rachel Sung. Music has been provided by Cold Soul Productions. Our artwork and design is done by Visual Shogun. Special thanks to TELUS STORYHIVE, National Screen Institute, Jessica Gibson, and our mentor, Lisa Pruden. Special thanks to Amaido Cafe, Muse Coffee Shop, and Sun's Barbecue for keeping us fed and caffeinated. And I'm your host, Gabriel Yee.